Welcome and thanks for joining me for the Gut Health Turnaround Series 2.0. 21 ways to heal your gut, reclaim your energy, and look and feel amazing. My name is Leah Kline, Health and Wholeness Coach, and I will be your host. Today I'm being joined again by Dr. Jack Tips. Thank you for being here.
Hello everyone, it's a pleasure.
All right, and he's going to be talking about the gut microbiome, which of course we're talking about quite a bit on this series. But Dr. Jack Tips is known around the world for his groundbreaking work in natural health field as exhibited in his insightful books, as well as his comprehensive and effective methods of health restoration, the body's full capacity to adapt and express optimal health. For over 30 years, he has promoted the principles of natural health through his consulting practice, books, lectures, courses, radio and television programs. He's the author of many books, desk references, and courses. Dr. Tips is known as the clinician's clinician, as he is one many doctors and practitioners turn to for their own personal health concerns, as well as for his renowned Second Opinion program for natural health practitioners who work with homeopathy, herbology, and clinical nutrition. In 1980, after 14 years of study, Dr. Tips began consulting in the application of Apple a Day program, classical homeopathy, combination, herbology, and clinical nutrition. His practice continues today in Austin, Texas, and all over the world, where he consults with people by phone and in person. Appointments with Dr. Tips are often turning points in people's lives. He views them as doorways for people to reclaim their ability to live in health and fulfill their life missions for optimal health. Dr. Tips brings the message of health to the forefront through lectures, workshops, radio, and television appearances. Enough of that. So now let's...
Yeah, I better get busy after listening to all of that. I've got some work to do.
So to start us off, when did you first start learning about gut health in specific?
Okay, being in natural health, we would say for the entire maybe 40 years that I've been in clinical practice, we've had the concept in natural health of leaky gut. And for maybe the last 35 years, the concept was totally denied, by medicine. And so it was kind of one of our niches in natural health that we would get solutions for people if they were having brain fog after eating and chronic immune inflammation, that we might go after something called leaky gut. And basically our tools were fiber and probiotics. And so that's been pretty much the mainstay. Sometimes we might gravitate into an aloe vera, glutamines and things like that have become popular over some time. Then around 2012, I started getting more of the research on the gut microbiome. And by 2013, the latter half, I was teaching a seminar because there had been so many breakthroughs, the gut-brain connection, the gut-thyroid connection, the gut-liver connection, the gut-liver, the gut-immune. And then it was all being turned around, the brain-gut connection and the stress, let's say the adrenals, back to the gut connection. And pretty soon we were understanding that we're all one, it's all interrelated, that our microbes are part of our lives, and they're literally an organ system. So while we maybe have been growing up that the skin is the largest organ and the liver is the most important organ, what's really is things have evolved. The gut microbiome is probably the largest organ, and second to that would be the muscles, collectively as engines of our cellular metabolism. But here's the thing. At the end of 2013, I was teaching doctors how to implement gut strategies, when to use botanical pathogen purges, when to use probiotics, when to use fibers, what to do about biofilms, and how to restore the microvilli or get the tight junctions to close and stop leaky gut.
Yeah.
So all of that has gotten into the natural health bailiwick, functional medicine bailiwick. That's what everyone is doing. I thought it might be interesting, Leah, to say, well, now that it's been a couple of years that we've actually been implementing these programs, and so far today, since then, I've worked with over 4,500 people on helping their GI tract. So we've been tackling the SIBO, which stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIFO, which is small intestinal fungal overgrowth, and that became an interesting topic because people that were using antibiotics to try to overcome the damage of antibiotics, like rifaximin, they would actually keep the same symptoms, but the doctors would say they're well because they can't find the bacteria because they had exchanged bacteria for fungal forms. So it was SIFO, not SIBO, and they weren't getting the lab reports to show as bad, although Candida can release some of the hydrogen sulfide. Well, anyway, I thought it might be a fun place for us to start today because I think listeners and viewers are probably a lot more savvy today than they were a couple of years ago because we've heard so much. But if we were to take the last 2 years, say, okay, 4,500 people, we've been helping people get over SIBO and SIFO and all of this, getting the GI tract back. There's easy cases, there's very, very difficult cases that break out in eczema and have panic attacks if they mess with their gut and all of this. Then I thought, really where this is going is, number one, the fibers and getting back into the normal healthy diet is where we have to go. It's not a matter of controlling SIBO or controlling bacteria or knocking them all out. It's how do we live day to day the way our body blueprint is designed. We shouldn't be having to worry about all this gut stuff. There's things that we've done. We could make a list of things that have upset the apple cart. Yeah. But the solution is not to go on a witch hunt for every histamine-producing food. It's not to go on witch hunts for every factor in a grain. Now, definitely there's problems with the hybridized grains and the gliadins, the glutens, and so forth. Wheat-like agglutinin factors that in some people are just going to drive massive inflammation, particularly in the brain. But there's ways that we need to be back to, well, how do we get that roughage and the fibers that rebuild? And so after people eliminate the pathogens, and the best ways to do that are botanicals. And if you're interested, jot down. I'll explain why the herbs have superiority. But what we're trying to get back to is understanding that we've got to have a varied diet. We shouldn't be painted in a corner. We should be using plenty of the spices because historically that's what controlled the gut. The rosemary, the thyme, the basil, these culinary spices are powerful antimicrobials, and certainly garlic is going to, lead the list, and so forth. But we want to hold up, as we do work in our gut microbiome, we want to hold up that within 6 months, a person should be able to eat their normal healthy diet, not going back and picking up a gluten pizza. But that maybe by now they have the ability to make a pizza that doesn't upset their stomachs. And so we're looking to be able to embrace the very fruits and vegetables and nuts, and more popular now, the animal products have made a big comeback of what we would call the farm of 100 years ago, with all the bounty of the garden and the the barnyard, the fermented milk and the goats and the cows and so forth, that all of this would create a wonderful, tasty, varied diet of freedom so people don't have to worry about their gut. What we've realized now is by the overuse of antibiotics, number one in commercial agriculture, they're in the farm salmon, they're in the farmed fish, they're in the milk, they're in the meats, including the butterball turkey, and so forth, that we're getting an onslaught of antibiotics that have mutated our good buddies in our tummies. And while they may still be beneficial species, they're a little bit nastier now, and their metabolic waste products, their communication with our brains it's a hostile world. Let's keep the set point of the immune system higher. Then when people are exposed to environmental toxins, the heavy metals and chemicals, the immune system is just going ballistic. And after a few years now, there's Hashimoto's, where the immune system has attacked the thyroid peroxidase, the thyroid membranes. Or there's rheumatoid arthritis because now the immune system is attacking the joints. So in natural health, we're looking at what causes it. Someone says, well, I have swelling and pain in my joints. My doctor's about ready to diagnose me through blood work as having rheumatoid arthritis. Why do I have this? And they're not realizing that the gut microbiome is just passing messages to the immune system and the brain that it's extremely hostile environment and we have to fight, and then there's the collateral damage. So instead of saying, well, you have arthritis, we don't know why, but now let's take immunosuppressive drug, it wasn't the immune system's fault. The immune system is doing what it was made to do. The problem is we're not getting it resolved. And so in this opening spiel, if I'm not talking too much, the latest research now is on these molecules called resolvins, protectins, myrisins, and lipoxins. The first three come through EPA, DHA. Those are fatty acids, right? They're PUFAs, they're polyunsaturated fatty acids. And they're larger molecule. And then the lipoxin comes from arachidonic acid, which if anyone in your audience is pretty savvy on fats, arachidonic acid has been cited as an inflammatory fatty acid. And the fact is, it has three pathways it goes through that can be inflammatory. It has one that's anti-inflammatory. So we're really looking at the balance of the omega-3, the omega-6, maybe having some omega-9s. We're looking at this balance. Isn't that a surprise? The thing we preach all the time in natural medicine is we want the two immune systems balanced so they're not inflammatory. We want our nutrients to be balanced. But these new molecules have been discovered, and they don't lock people in to fish oil. So vegetarians can breathe a sigh of relief here. They may not want the krill oil either, but krill shows to be far superior because it literally has more capability to produce those molecules. And I'll tell you in just a second what those molecules will do. But also now algae has become a renewable source of EPA, DHA, which means we're not sacrificing animal life. We're not depleting fish in the ocean or krill. The krill seem to reproduce so fast that they're considered unlimited, but au contraire, human beings find a way to exhaust any resource. But the algae look like that they can provide for vegetarians. So everyone should be alerted to protectins, myrisins, resolvins, and just think of that word resolve. And here's the story. When the body chooses to turn inflammation on, the body has no mechanism that serves as an anti-inflammatory. It says inflammation is normal and natural. There's no reason to oppose it. When medicine comes up with anti-inflammatory drugs, they're actually acting outside of nature with a dictatorial, side effect driven system that's not looking at the whole picture. The body doesn't oppose inflammation, it resolves it. We want inflammation to go through its evolution, and the body says, okay, number one, I can protect my tissues from inflammation. What does it use? It uses resolvins, protectins, mucins to protect the cells. It gets inflammation. That means pain, redness, heat, swelling, ouch, we don't like that inflammation. But as soon the inflammation sends signals through the mitochondrial DNA to the nuclear DNA, okay, it's time. We've had enough of the inflammation. Let's resolve it. There's no signal in the body to turn it off. And that's what medicine is trying to find. How do we turn it off? Well, we don't want to turn it off. It's saving our lives. But when it stays on too long, it's killing us. So it's that two-edged sword of a nation can't run a perpetual war effort and not have it literally sap the vitality out of its people, whether it's through taxation or natural resources or lives. So nature has already spoken. We see the pattern. The body wants to resolve inflammation, and it does it with mucins and resolvins and protectins and lipoxins, these molecules that come from these fatty acids, the essential fatty acids. Most of them are essential. So when these molecules are in abundance to handle the high degree of inflammation that our food, our thoughts, our culture, our environment are causing on our bodies. When we get more of those, the body has more signals, and then it will say, okay, we don't have to be inflamed anymore. We took care of those aggressive H. pylori's or blastocystis homini or whatever it's been after, and it now segues in to the healing mechanism. Without ever suppressing inflammation, it resolves. And now it's, how do we rebuild the collagen? How do we rebuild the cell membranes? And it's happened in your body when the pain goes away, the redness goes away, the swelling goes away. So the acute ankle sprain is a good example of the broad picture of the process. So that's why I was excited, and I hope your listeners are, that not only could we talk about what became popular here at the vanguard, at the cutting edge of this science, what became popular in 2014 now, I'm actually getting messages from people in teaching professionals that some of my colleagues, they're tired of hearing about it. And I just said, well, then they haven't learned what I've learned, because when we understand that bacteria live at 35,000 feet in the air, they live at the bottom of the ocean, they live in the plumbing pipes of a nuclear reactor. These bacteria live at the North Pole, the South Pole, and probably there's some guy living right down in the heat of the core of the earth. So these guys are everywhere, and it's time for humanity to learn, how do we get along and how do we use these bacteria, because they love us, the good guys, because we provide 98.6 degrees. We provide food. We provide shelter. And they set up a relationship with our immune system, and our immune system says, okay, you probiotic species, you love me and I love you. You stay in the gut and don't you dare try to come inside the body. And they signed a treaty, like a million years ago. They signed a treaty. They have a covenant, and everybody is to behave properly. What's happened today is everything we've done has been improper. Ever since the microscope, saw the bacteria ever since Louis Pasteur associated some bacteria in milk with disease. Lister University created Listerine, and the whole thing has been kill the oral microbiome. This is where we seed our GI tracts from these bacteria we make in our mouths. And so all day long we're mouth washing and breath minting and brushing with messages that are kill, kill, kill. So the first thing to do is to throw away the mouthwash and get rid of that fluoride toothpaste and the antibacterial, and never, ever, ever buy a triclosan antibiotic toothpaste. It kills children. And yet they're selling it in the stores. And you see how far off track we got, that we have to kill every bacteria we see. Instead, we need to nurture the good guys and let them take care of their business. So I think I've talked quite a bit, and I'm just going to catch my breath here and see if you want to get a word in edgewise, Leah.
So how would you recommend, what's kind of the first thing you would recommend somebody do on healing and restoring? It sounds like supplementing the omegas is one of the ways as far as just improving the diet and improving improving the gut through the things that you've been talking about.
If that body is looking for those molecules in order to resolve all the inflammation, now you have to remove the cause.
True.
And so if the cause is heavy metals, dental fillings, mercury in the mouth, that's changing the microbiome. It's coming into the body. Maybe it has to come back around through the gallbladder to get out. The bacteria in the gut are trying to protect us. They absorb the mercury and or lead or chemicals, and they use it in their biofilms. And so a lot of people are carrying, let's say, dental mercury in their gut, not in their brain, but it can also be in the brain and the pituitary and the kidneys, but it's just waiting there in the gut because now there's a biofilm. But these heavy metals and chemicals breed the wrong kind of bacteria. So maybe they're sort of protecting us. Like back in 1980 something, I wrote a book on Candida, and I basically was saying Candida is our friend. Now this is while Dr. Trowbridge and Dr. Crook had their leading books out about how horrible Candida is, but yet it's absorbing the heavy metals. It's keeping them from getting into our bodies. It's responding to the environment. And when it converts to a fungus and starts poisoning our brains, it's a super bad guy. But when we step back and we look at everything happening in nature for a reason, it's only in natural health we find people saying, well, why? Why does that person have Candida? Remember, the first thing medicine came out with in the old days was you have to take nystatin and kill the Candida. Candida's the enemy, kill it and you'll be fine. They had no plan for restoring the gut microbiome. They didn't have any plans for restoring leaky gut or the tissue. It was just to go in and kill and hope that nature works it out. We have such a broader base of knowledge now to understand these relationships. So number one, I would say we can't keep putting the bad things in the gut and expect to get good results. So take care of the oral microbiome. There's toothpaste that don't have tea tree oil, that don't have killers. If they're saying about killing plaque on the toothpaste, stay away from it. We got to quit killing everything and start supporting the good guys. And so it's a whole different way. So let's do the same thing now, but in working with someone who's in late stages, leaky gut, SIBO, there is indeed a time frame that you go in and use botanicals, oregano oil, the allicins in garlic, olive leaf extract. I'm trying to think of a few, Lamatium dissectum, golden seal, the berberines, all of these things. But we ought to be looking at a time frame of 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Get in and help the body because it's been suffering. The immune system is weak. It's inflamed. It's busy elsewhere. I call it, you get in and you pathogen purge, or you knock them down. Mm-hmm. Then you want to come roaring right back with the soothers, the healers, and all this time you can be taking the oil. Now people will go, well, gosh, I've been taking fish oil for years. And we even have a scenario now where people can take too much fish oil. They take too much omega-3 and it throws the 6 and 9s out of balance. So we want to look at a diet that would have all the beneficial fats, and we want to get extra supplementation either from algae or krill in these molecules that can resolve inflammation. And so when we look at the things in the diet, lo and behold, it's exactly what the doctors told us to quit eating. No wonder we're so sick. I mean, why did we ever take advice from people that never studied nutrition in the first place? That never computed with me, but they passed a certain body of information to registered dietitians who parroted it out to the public, and they called it the healthy heart diet in the 1980s. And the result of healthy heart was doubling diabetes, doubling inflammation, and gaining per capita in this country 11 pounds per person of fat, because they put everybody on a whole grain diet. Meanwhile, grains were being hybridized and not at all what our bodies are used to eating. And if you say, well, what's wrong with hybridization? Well, the ancient grains had, like, say, 8 chromosomes. Those are proteins in the grain. Today's wheat has 64. Our bodies don't know what to do with those. We don't have 5,000 years of dealing with those 64 chromosomes. So they're proteins. That's your gliadins. And so we keep adding these things. Well, why did we add them to the wheat? Well, we wanted to make a stretchier pizza dough, so it's high gluten flour. We wanted to make the plant grow 18 inches tall for the convenience of the thrashing machine. Mm-hmm. And nobody ever looked at wheat and say, the staff of life, how do we make it even a better staff? How do we make it even more nutritious? And so we've never had the right motivations toward our manipulation of the food supply. Today it's costing people their health. It's costing this country billions of dollars in health care because of the food supply tearing up our guts over many, many years. That's the sad shape we're in. So what do we get back? We get back butter. That butyric acid in grass-fed butter, it's a beautiful fat for the cell membranes. It balances the fish oil, the egg yolk. The part, remember when the big thing went around, oh, you can't eat eggs, they have cholesterol, yeah. Which was another ludicrous thing from modern medicine, because any first-grade nutritionist would know you don't absorb cholesterol from your food, you absorb lipids. The digestion has to work first. The body has to put cholesterol back together. And if the body chooses to put cholesterol back together, it's trying to be anti-inflammatory. It's trying to protect the nerves. It's trying to protect the liver. And so we've had another bum steer coming out of modern medicine that's guided dietary patterns. And then your dear viewer is sitting there thinking, well, I'm going to stop off and, grab an antibiotic burger on the way home. And that's okay. That's just part of, good food. And what is it about all these foodie people? But I'm saying now, the egg is one of the most perfect foods for a human being. Dairy, if it's coming again from an A2 genetic cow, a nice Guernsey cow, and it's raw milk, grass-fed. They haven't given that cow vaccines and antibiotics, and we're just letting nature and that health of that cow be out there in the pasture. They're not in a CAFO, a confined feeding lot, where diseases are incubated just like the diseases are incubated in hospitals. And we get out of that modality and we get back to what they call the traditional roots of food. now people, the health nuts, they're eating bacon. They're they're drinking milk. They're making milk kefirs. They're eating eggs. They're slathering on the butter. Nobody's keeling over from, you know, too many fat, heart diseases. And the biggest trends right now in dietary nutrition is to get your fats up to 40%. More eggs, more meat, more oils. Just not the kind of oils you buy in the store.
Yeah.
Oils in seed, whole foods oils. I don't know of any oil product in any health food store that's really suitable for use on a salad. So that's for those that are looking for the easy way. You know, sometimes we've traded our convenience for our health because we no longer take joy in going out to the garden and picking some food and preparing it, you know, for the table and that sort of thing. So we'll live and learn. But yeah, so that's the first step, Leah, is get the fats. You know, there's a subculture trying to do a keto adapted diet, which is basically a high fat diet again. I'm not a huge proponent because I think it works for about 7 to 8 months and then there's more trouble coming. That's just my opinion. So I hope I didn't offend anyone who's fallen in love with keto adaptations. It's very, very helpful for people to lose weight and to correct some illnesses, but then it seems that I would say we want to supersede a keto adaptation with mitochondrial flexibility, meaning that if you have something that's higher in the starch, that it doesn't ruin you, your mitochondria will just burn that glucose energy and then can switch back and forth from glucose inductions to converting fats. And so I think the reason why the humanity has survived in so many different latitudes and climates for so many years is this what's called mitochondrial flexibility, that we can burn the sugars, we can burn the fats, we can convert proteins to sugar and then burn them as sugar. So we have multiple fuel sources. And so as the pendulum swings, even in natural health, from the high carb diet to the high protein diet to the high fat diet, anytime you see the word high or low, consider that the person doesn't really know what they're talking about, because if they're not screaming balance, we get misled by our own research. As soon as we find the good things, it's human nature. That's why you need a voice now and then, I think, that'll stand up and say, wait a minute. You know, I've seen for 40 years, the high lows come and go, get replaced, and so forth. It's about time that we could just figure it out. We want the good starches. You know, and now I think there's an adrenal book out that's touting how important the starches are. So we don't need a lot of them, but we need some of them. And from them, we get the fibers. The fibers promote the gut. We gotta have the starches. For someone who's struggling with starches and they really need to cut back and they need to get off of those foods, I'll give your listeners, one of my discoveries is wild rice. Wild rice is not a grain, it's a seed. And when you cook it up, it's on the plate just like regular rice, except it's bigger and nuttier and dark, but it's delicious and it's got the fibers that will support the gut microbiome. And then as you start building your own gut microbiome, maybe you pathogen purge, then you got to come in. You may use probiotics as peacekeepers. You're not reseeding your own gut with a probiotic supplement because they're not the right species for you as an individual. Your genetics, your family, your environment, and your diet have set with your immune system your gut species. We use the probiotics as peacekeepers so the bad guys don't come back, while we're introducing the fermented foods, the sauerkrauts, the kefirs, the kvass, and so forth. And And while we're introducing that and we're re-terraforming, we bring these fats in. And let me tell you, the gut microbiome loves these fats. They will render these anti-inflammatory compounds from them, and they will see that you have better uptake. The immune system, the first one being the secretory IgA in the gut, it starts to relax. And then the inflammation goes down. All of a sudden that TPO on Hashi, it suddenly dropped by 400 points. It was all coming from the gut. The joints are feeling better. And so we use the gut as the place to get leverage, either for the cure or for a necessary step, so you can take the next step to solve the autoimmune conditions. And I think I'll just end up now, Leah, by saying autoimmune conditions are reversible. It's within epigenetics of the human body. It turned them on, it can turn them off. Just because medical science says toxic drugs don't have the ability to turn off the switches and they're suppressing the resolution of the problem, just take that as a biased opinion of someone who's been in the natural health. I don't mean to be poking too many pointers. There's certainly, you know, I always feel like when I poke a finger at the fallacies of medicine, they always say you've got three pointing back, and then I have a good laugh about some of the wacky things we do in natural health that I dearly love and enjoy, and that frankly don't hurt anyone. So, you know, what's the big deal there? But
all right, well, we need to actually start wrapping things up. Want to tell us about?
Is that why you were going like this?
All right, tell us about the free gift for our listeners.
Well, there's a little article at www.wellnesswiz.com over there on that page that'll let you download it. The one that's posted there now, I change the articles periodically. I run them on the gut microbiome. Right now there's an article on age-related muscle loss. And it's something that now that I've hit my 66th year, you know, I'm saying, you know, where's the, you know, what am I doing myself? But it does link back to the gut microbiome. And so we need to understand that the gut is still supporting muscle metabolism and the anabolics that support the building of muscle with exercise. So it's tied in. But if anyone goes there, the article is I believe it's on Amazon at $19.95. It's free on my website. So that's a gift of information. And doubling back in a month or so, you know, grab another one. I try to keep my writings and research posted.
Okay, and so that's the same address if somebody's wanting to connect with you and learn more about what you do or anything else. Is the wellnesswiz.com.
Yes, there's an email form there that they can fill out, and the email comes straight to me, so you'll be talking to me.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Jack, for joining me again today.
Well, don't you have another 10 questions for me?
Thanks to everyone for listening. Come back tomorrow for more of the Gut Health Turnaround series.